Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Rough, Tam Cowan and Darren Jackson here with me on the show. Delighted to have your company. You can hit the follow on the Facebook if you can. Share the stream with your pals, let them know we're here. And also on our YouTube channel, you can hit the subscribe button, and we're live at PLZ Soccer on our Twitter as well. So there's lots of ways where you can watch it on your phone. If you're travelling anywhere, you won't miss a thing, and you can catch up on the podcast too. So we've covered all bases today, apart from obviously at the start. Sometimes I like to give quite a lot of people a mention who join the show. I think it's only right and proper, Roughie, we say hi to so many of the people who actually follow us on a regular basis. So thank you to Paul Baird, Una Brennan, who's been a regular, and also I must give a mention, I hate turning into the would-be DJ Tam, but my sister is 60 today, so happy birthday to Anne McAloon. Her husband Jim watches the show regularly, Tam, and he thought, wouldn't it be great if you could just say happy birthday to your sister? She's 60, and, you know, Roughie, when he was 60, he was full of beans as well, Tam.
Absolutely. Well, allow me to echo that as well, Peter. Can I wish your wee sister a very happy birthday?
And can I just wish you all the best as well? Anyway, apart from anything else, great to have you all on board with us. Lots to talk about, of course, lots of skullduggery as ever in Scottish football that we'll be able to discuss. There's some good stories that'll get Roughie going, to say the least. So hi to Andy Penman, Scott Graham, Brendan Niven, as well as Andy Wilson, who's out there in Australia. First one, Old Firm clash, no surprise, obviously, with the royal funeral on the Saturday. As a mark of respect, all the games moving to the Sunday, and the Old Firm game will kick off on Sunday at 3 o'clock, Roughie.
Yeah, I think it's the responsible thing to do. I don't think anybody have any problems with that. You know, just everybody get their head around, you know, changing it for the day. Unfortunately, there's no supporters in any of the games, so that'll make it a wee bit easier to manage. But no, I think it's the right thing, and I'm sure everybody will be doing that this weekend.
Well, everybody apart from Kilmarnock Montrose, Tam, they kick off at 11:45 on the Saturday. So they're clearly going to have to get everything done and dusted.
Yeah, an early start so that even if there's any extra time and penalties, so that it wouldn't overlap with the funeral, because you can imagine some of the dignitaries down there at Windsor Castle looking at their watch and saying, we can't get started yet just now, my lords and ladies, because Montrose have taken it to penalties. So you didn't want a scenario like that, of course, you know. But you know what, Peter? See, to be sensible about it and practical, if there was a bonus in fans not being allowed into the games, it does mean that when you make wholesale fixture changes like this, that it is actually a bit easier when you don't actually have to take in fans, particularly travelling supporters, into account. Because I can guarantee you, you know how it works, Peter, the Rangers Celtic Cup tie, which was originally scheduled for the Saturday, then, you know, in the old days you would have had fans making all sorts of travel arrangements from all over Scotland and beyond, and that would have been deemed a bit of a nuisance if it had suddenly been switched quite late to the Sunday. But again, we don't have to take that into consideration. But we all still wish there'd be fans there. If there's a competition supporters love in this country, it is the Scottish Cup. And I kind of agree with Ali McCoist that even if it means, you know, finding a new venue for the Scottish Cup final, it would be great if we could get it moved and get some fans in when that game comes around. I couldn't face two Scottish Cups in the bounds, Peter, finals with no fans inside the stadium. It'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah, I agree with you. I quite like the idea of moving it to somewhere else because, you know, we've got to try and get supporters into it. Whether that happens or not, only time will tell. Of course, it's the Rangers-Celtic game moved to the Sunday. You can't please everybody, Darren, because apparently Aberdeen-Livingston's been moved from Sunday to the Saturday. Livingston say they weren't consulted about the change in date, travel plans, accommodation, training, nutrition. It's all out the window. There's always somebody who's unhappy with these things.
Yeah, well, you think you would have consulted them, and I know that teams do have a schedule for the week ahead, that they'll be off a certain day because they play a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday. So, but I think once the Prince had died, I think they would have known if once it was known it was going to be the Saturday. I think teams would have sussed it. It would have had to be changed. So, listen, Peter, players will adapt. Aberdeen are maybe just having a little go because they possibly weren't consulted, but players will adapt, and Aberdeen players will get on that pitch and they'll want to get through to the next round of the cup. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I'm sure David Martindale has got the perfect chance to use it as an excuse if they don't get through. Here's the fourth round dates, rescheduled times, kickoffs that you can look over. St Mirren and Inverness on the Friday. Motherwell against Morton is 7 p.m. kickoff. Forfar Dundee United. Killie against Montrose, that early kickoff we were talking about. St Johnstone, Clyde. Aberdeen, Livingston. Stranraer against Hibs, 12:15 on the Sunday. And Rangers against Celtic, 3 o'clock on the Sunday. And of course, with the news that's come out today that 6 people can actually get together, 6 adults outside in the back garden anywhere in Scotland, I sense some old firm pals, Roughie, will be getting together if they can get a telly out in the back garden.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be hoping there's good weather at the weekend. It seems the ideal thing to do. Let's hope they stick to the regulations of 6 people and not 26 or 46 if you've got a big garden. So we'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. And apologies to those who live in flats. But nevertheless, I'm sure you know someone with a back garden. I'm digging myself into a hole here, Tam, so I'll quickly move on and tell you this. Siobhan Barber, and now this is something I think is serious, Tam, that we don't often think about it on this show. Siobhan Barber says, Peter, my husband watches the show every day and he won't talk to us when it's on. His name's Craig Barber. It's a serious issue, Tam. I mean, I don't know how Siobhan gets round that. Maybe she should watch the show in a different room and enjoy it with her pals outside, maybe.
Yeah.
The 6 of them.
Well, I'm loath to have a go because the guy clearly has issues if he's watching this every single day, Peter. So, but hey, after the last year we've had, and they only reopened in one day, you will not hear me having a go at a barber.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing I'm looking forward to, Roughie, when we all get back together. The mere fact that he doesn't need to work his iPad or his microphone anymore. That's going to be an absolute joy seeing his little bodgers here on the left-hand side of his, Roughie, isn't it?
Yeah, he does remark. I can't believe he holds that mic for the whole hour. He must have some muscles in his arms there. You know, I can't believe you're not taking a stand into him.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a gag there, but Tam was 3 yards ahead of every one of us. Apart from anything else, I did mention, Darren. You know what John Hughes and Brian Rice are like. As soon as they opened their mouth last week, I thought, oh, get the money out. Here comes the fine for the SFA. No surprise, a notice of complaint has been served.
Yeah. I think it's wrong, Peter. It was Jacob, my son, came in and said, "Have you heard Chipper's interview?" And I said, "No," and he played it and I actually texted. It was just sheer passion, Peter. I loved it. He didn't set it up. He just went in there, probably to the press to get his point of view over, and it just kicked in, and he got more passionate and probably more angry. And I don't think he actually said anything. I believe he didn't say anything out of order. I mean, what I would really like is that the referee, he goes to Hampden with Crawford Allen and sits with the referee. They show him one penalty and then they show him the other penalty, and the referee explains why he didn't give one and why he gave the other. And then Brian might not accept it, but then he's getting an explanation. I honestly can't believe he's getting pulled up for it, because I honestly don't believe he said anything that was totally out of hand.
Yeah, the referees, Roughie, and I know this firsthand, try to get the managers together at the start of the season and explain certain things to the rules, and also explain how difficult their job is and how to try and understand the manager's perspective on things. Consistency is always the bugbear on this, and it will never go away, even as we are watching right now on VAR. The interpretation from officials, whether they're 5 miles, 25 miles away, watching it to try and help the referee. The interpretation is causing all sorts of consternation.
Yeah, I think it's the people who are making up the rules really need to make it a lot easier for the referees. The handball one is just a nonsense. That if you're a referee, your judgment isn't the same every time. So you've got to make some kind of call, because as soon as it hits somebody's hand, everybody on the park's complaining for a penalty. So they all think it's a penalty, but they've got to interpret it the way they see it. And the old thing is they only see it once. We see it as many times as we like after it. So it's a tough one. I think they need to change that one, and to change, obviously, the VAR one, and make it a lot easier for the referees.
Yeah, well, the hearing comes on the 29th of April. They'll find out then.
Peter, I know how hard it is for referees. Obviously, I was one that was very critical and got involved with referees, and we know how hard it is. And even with VAR now, did you see the West Brom game last night, where they went to VAR and the boys on side and they still gave it offside? So that's how hard it is for the referee on the pitch. And then they've got a guy watching. I don't know how many cameras they'll have, and they gave it because they couldn't draw a line right through because there was another player in the way. They had to cancel the goal. I thought that one was an absolute joke. So I do understand how hard it is for a referee, but as you said, you're just looking for consistency.
I don't know about you, Tam. I know Darren and Roughie played the game at the top level. I would like to see the big change, Tam, is this is an entertainment. You want to go to be excited. You don't want to go to talk about somebody really talking about a foul or misdemeanors on the part. You want to go home and talk about an outrageous piece of skill. These are the things that stick in your mind in a game. An outrageous piece of skill, somebody who excites you, and a goal. That's what the game's all about. So I would like to see offside, basically, in favour of the attacker. There's got to be, for me, a clear distance between the last man and the attacker going forward, and he's onside. We've got to promote goals, Tam, surely.
Yeah, you have. But, Peter, let's be brutally honest here that, if there was an outstanding bit of skill, if there was a great goal, fans would talk about that. Sometimes we only happen to put the focus on the refereeing decisions because there wasn't exactly a bundle load of magical moments in the game, and that's the worrying thing. I just wish, I've always been a big backer of our Scottish match officials. I've backed them to the hilt for years, but there are some times, and I'm saying this against my own club here, Peter, there are some times when the referees, we know they don't have VAR, but they could maybe get a wee bit better help from the rest of their officials. If any of you chaps watched the highlights of the Motherwell St Mirren game at the weekend, we get we absolutely get out of jail over a handball. The ball struck Robbie Crawford in the hand. He almost caught the ball with one hand, and Kevin Clancy's sight line was kind of blocked, so there was no penalty, but it seemed blindingly obvious. But in a situation like that, his far side linesman could surely have had a wee shout through the headset. His other linesman could have had a wee shout. Even the fourth official standing between the dugouts, who probably had a decent view of it, he could have given him a shout. It was an absolute blatant spot kick, and I'm saying that as well as somebody who doesn't like to see penalties against Motherwell for obvious reasons. But I just think before we even jump to thinking about VAR, that maybe, just maybe, the referees' fellow match officials could help out just a wee bit more.
Yeah, of course, Robert McIntosh here says, remember when offside was only in the 18-yard box? Do you remember that, Roughie? They actually trialled it. I think it was the Drybrough Cup, wasn't it?
It was either the Drybrough Cup or the Texaco Cup. It was one of these
the
two
Texaco.
ones.
The Texaco. another one of Roughie's classics. The Texaco Cup. Oh,
it's a posh.
That was very fun. Aye, the Texaco Cup.
Yes. Oh, Texaco. Oh, not when you come from Cumbernauld. Right, it's Texaco.
Okay. Don't forget to fill your petrol up with ESO petrol. Okay. Make sure you get that in your tank.
But you're right. No, it was somebody came up with the idea that they thought it would be a wee bit more exciting. But as usual, footballers just just abused the rule, and it became a farce. They were just hanging about, waiting on the ball coming. They weren't even running. They were just hanging about anywhere there was nobody marking them. So I
do you know
get
who
pinned
abused
as
it the
well.
most? Do you know who abused it the most, Roughie? Joe Harper. Joe Harper was the absolute king of poachers. He just used to stand on the 18-yard line, Tam, and wait for the ball to come. He was absolutely magnificent at it, and he avoided all the offside. But anyway, a lot of people saying, Darren, great to see you. Who mounted the telly behind you? Is it Roughie that put it up for you? Because obviously people study things and see exactly how you've put things up in the background. And another thing that really worries, there it is. You have to stand up in a chair to watch that telly. Is that right? Does it move?
Yeah. No, it doesn't move. No.
Yeah.
Right, okay. That's fine. Roughie, you happy with that?
You're lucky it's no upsetting that boy for You're lucky you're not upsetting the boy for Australia, who has everything has to be slanting to the side.
That's obviously a person that's not been watching the show, because it's been like that since we've been in lockdown.
Yeah. The one thing I have noticed about lockdown is if you didn't have your son Jacob, you would know nothing about what's going on in football, because he keeps you completely and utterly informed on everything. Every time he phones me, he'll say, yeah, Jacob showed me this. And I thought, wow, does he actually read anything? Jacob's absolutely clued up in the whole thing. So well done to you, Jacob. He'll be appearing on absolutely. He's appearing in next Tuesday's show. Anyway, apart from anything else, moving players. I noticed in the Sun today, they put together, Tam, a whole list of players that potentially, are either out of contract or could be moving on. And boy, I'll tell you, people think, the game's a glamorous job, but for the 85-95% of footballers, this summer, again, like every other summer, Tam, is precarious for you looking for a job.
Yeah, that's how, and Darren knows all about this. When you look back and think how the late great Jim McLean was berated for putting players on what were deemed long contracts, and all the jokes about 12-year deals with a 25-year option. I mean, Peter, you must think how many players in this day and age would bite the hand off you for a deal like that gave you that sort of long-term security, rather than all the kind of 6-month deals that you keep hearing about. There are a lot of players on loan. I actually think, Peter, it's it kind of diminishes something for football. When gone are the days that players were at clubs for a long length of time. Probably we spoke about this a number of weeks ago as the testimonial match a thing of the past now, with players on short-term deals and moving here, there, and everywhere. And I think there's a danger that fans could lose a wee bit almost like identity of the team. When you see guys that are only there very, very short term and then they disappear, it's almost like blink and they're gone, rather than stalwarts as such that were at the club, guys that had put in a right long shift with their team. I wish those days could come back. I was, for a wee thing we were doing for the BBC last week, looking back at classic Scottish Cup finals, Peter. One of them we looked up, and I bet you the three, you could almost name the two lineups when I tell you the game. It was a Scottish Cup final between Rangers and Aberdeen, 1982. Aberdeen won 4-1 after extra time. And I kid you not, Peter, every single player in both teams was an absolute household name. You could have waxed lyrical about any guy on the pitch. And lo and behold, they were all players that had given their respective clubs, long service. But, those days are gone. And for the guys who maybe aren't at the top of the tree in terms of ability or earning power, then yeah, when I saw that list of players, then you can only wish them all the very best.
Yeah, absolutely. Roughie, I don't think I'm going to get all 11 right, but I'll have a stab at the Aberdeen side from that time. Leighton, Kennedy, Rugby, Miller, McLeish, Strachan, Weir, Simpson, potentially Eric Black, Mark McGee and John Hewitt. It's not a bad shout, is it, Tam?
You're absolutely spot on. And then there was all those stalwarts. I think it might actually been the end of an era, really. The Rangers team had guys, for example, like Colin Jackson. I think that may even have been his last game. John McDonald was on the pitch as well. Tommy McLean, even for a spell, was there. So it was maybe just at the end of these boys' time at Rangers.
Is that the one Alec Miller broke his ankle?
Yeah, it almost looked as if he'd it just looked in the eye at times if he'd get cramp or something. And I think it was as Mark McGee was going by him, and Mark McGee played it into the 6-yard box for Gordon Strachan's tap-in. But honestly, it was a great game. But every single player, you just knew you could have had a chat, as we're doing here, a 1-hour chat on each player that was in both those teams. It was incredible.
Yeah, Craig Jack has just said, jobs for life are a thing of the past. I did realise that, Darren, when I was watching the weekend. I'll tell you, a player I really like, and I like watching him because I think he's he's one of those one-club players as well. Mark Noble played with West Ham. He's been there for a decade, and it's so unusual, and he grew up being a Hammers fan.
Yeah, it must be amazing for him. 400 games is incredible in the Premiership, Peter. And he's just been one of those guys who just gets on with his job. You can, I think he got in bother. Can you remember the time that, I don't know who they were playing, but the player went down injured, and he actually physically just picked him up and carried him and dropped him off the pitch. I mean, just pure desire. But like Billy McKinlay was there, Peter, at West Ham with Davy the first time. And just said an absolute top professional. Every day comes in, you get the same off him every single day in training and every match, just consistency.
Yeah, love players like that. Nigel Hurd, thank you, Nigel, because I just had a stab at an 11. I didn't think I was going to get all of them right. And he says, John McMaster, not Peter Weir. So, not a bad shout. At that time, Roughie, I always mention this to you, but when Aberdeen were at their absolute best, I mean, Rangers weren't a great side then. I think Big DJ would have been coming to the end of his time there as well. They weren't a great side. Might have had Gregor Stevens in it and things like that. But one of my favourite players for Aberdeen was a guy who played in the left wing, Roughie, Ian Scanlon. You remember him?
For St Mirren, yeah.
Yeah, he was a great player.
Him and Peter Weir were the same. If they were playing, they were absolutely old style wingers. Wingers who actually took people on. They just didn't hit it and then ran faster than the other guy. These guys had a bit of skill. They could go up to a fullback and take him on. And that was good about that side, because once you go by that defender, the people in the box and quality like Mark would be in there. Then it was a great side to watch. And obviously that's what we were talking about the other day. I think that's what we've missed this year. We've missed the challenge of Aberdeen and Hibs and coming down to Celtic and coming down to Rangers and put up in a decent fight here. It's just not happening. And I think it takes it away from our league. I think it needs to be more competitive.
Yeah, we were talking about players that stay at clubs and players that are almost definitely leaving. One man was in the news this morning, Tam, Odsonne Edouard, Arsenal, potentially Leicester City. I think this will be the summer when Celtic eventually try and cash in on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolutely brilliant player. I remember the first time I saw him up at Fir Park. Motherwell just couldn't handle him at all. He was quite phenomenal, in fact, and you would only hope that whoever comes in as Celtic manager, if I was a Celtic fan, whatever money they get for Edouard, you would hope that the manager would get all that money and be able to reinvest in the team. But there's no such guarantee of anything like that, of course, Peter, and he'd be a huge loss when you see, the situation the club already finds itself in, no manager, the club captain leaving, etc., etc. I mean, his loss would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's a real hullabaloo at the moment, Darren, about whether, Eddie Howe should get his skates on and maybe whether he's playing Celtic against another job elsewhere. I mean, if I still have the belief, and I've said it for weeks, I still have the belief that they're quite at peace, Celtic, with whoever they've got, and because there's no way, I don't think they would be. I think there'd be you'd sense a bit of panic, or you'd get a sniff of a story of someone not taking the job and them starting to call elsewhere. You always get somebody who breaks the ranks, Darren, with regards to a manager. I think Celtic are at peace with who they've got, when he's coming in, and all this trying to crank up Eddie Howe to make a decision, whether Rod Stewart's tweeting him or someone else's, I don't see it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Peter. I think they must be at ease with it. everyone just wants to yes or no, and the good thing is he's obviously not said no. I don't think it'll be down to Eddie Howe's personal terms, Peter. I think he'll get a good, he'll obviously get a good wage, but it'll be down to how much he's got to spend and how much he's got, plus what he'll probably generate. You're just talking about through maybe Edward leaving, what he can generate through the team as well. And I would think, I know he's very close with Richard Hughes. I would think that would be a big plus. We spoke about it before. I think that would be a big one for him, that he would want to bring him in. And I think Richard Hughes would probably have players that they've looked at that could do Celtic. So they're maybe a little bit ahead of the game as well. So, but I think Celtic, I think you're right, 100% right. I think Celtic are at ease, or other names would be getting mentioned. They would be looking for other people, talking to other people, but I think they must be at ease, Peter.
Yeah. Hey, Roughie, I just read something. Neil Gray often sends us little pointers about whether there's a great documentary out or a little point that's come out in the news. He mentioned there Leo Helda of Ross County has been tipped by John Hughes as the next Virgil van Dijk. Now, this boy's on loan at Ross County from Celtic. He's only 17 years of age. I often get worried, Roughie, when managers come out and say he's going to be the next this or that. It's not only lots of pressure on youngsters, but I remember Billy McNeil calling Stevie Fulton Baggio. Now, I don't know about you. I thought Stevie Fulton was a wonderful player. I mean, a really good player, brilliant left peg on him, brilliant for Hearts, Roughie. But Baggio, can you imagine the dressing room when they're all in there absolutely battering him for that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when players get tied with names like that, it does stick. And other players obviously call them whatever the manager said they are, just for a wee bit of fun. But I think Yogi's actually obviously trying to talk the boy up. He's got important games coming up at Ross County. Maybe he's just trying to give him a wee lift, and hopefully he's going to be a big player for them, because he does look a player. He looks like Iron, he looks like Henry. Same kind of centre half. Very, very tall, very dominating, but he's got a long way to go to prove himself. But Yogi will be hoping he can do it in a Ross County jersey.
Yeah, another one, Tam, when you get all this hype about players that are going to be great, one of the players that's out of contract in the summer is Karamoko Dembele. The hype around this boy for the last 3 or 4 years has been frightening. Well,
I think we're going to wake up one morning, Peter, and realise that boy is actually 43. Because he seems to have been this like young teenage boy at Celtic for years and years and years now, and I really hope. I'm intrigued what he is actually going to be like when he is like a first team regular playing first team football. Is he a guy that is just going to be great to watch? Because he's meant to have all the trickery in his locker, and as we've kind of bemoaned this fact for a long time, Peter, we don't really have the players. Certainly in Scottish football, who the minute the ball lands at their feet, you're up out your seat thinking that something special is going to happen. So, he's one of these names that resonates with a lot of Scottish football fans. That with a big question mark kind of after his name, is he going to crack it? Is he going to be a great? So I can only wish him well. What age is he now, Peter?
I think he's fast approaching 18, Darren. I think that's. Yeah. I think he must be getting close to it.
Yeah, I had him with Scotland under 18s, Peter, and honestly, he is special. Honestly, just so clever. I mean, not just clever in the way he plays, he just understands the game. I mean, like, just little things that he would run up to a centre half and just slow down as he got to the centre half, and just as the centre half would slow down, he would just pick it up again, just for like he was only 16, 17 then, just for a young kid, just to have that mindset that he knew what he was doing. I think he is special, and I would imagine that Celtic are trying to do their utmost to try and keep him.
Yeah, and players like that, when they've got so much hype around them, it's like Billy Gilmour. We're all hoping and praying that Billy Gilmour gets regular football at the top level and can come in and do things for Chelsea, and of course, more importantly for us, Scotland. So fingers crossed on that. Roughie, I've got to ask you this, because it's coming out. Cheryl's just told me he's 18, is our one of our journals on the show. So I was right. Roughie, I've got to ask you about this.
Yeah,
Jeff Stelling. I have to tell you, Cheryl will not be happy that you're calling her Jeff Stelling. No disrespect to Jeff.
No, I was calling you Jeff. I was calling you Jeff.
All right, I'm happy with that. Right, okay. I'm about a foot taller than him. Anyway, apart from anything else, Roughie, suddenly it's back on the talk about the expansion. Suddenly we're looking at possibly the Colts are going to be in there. They're now looking at the Premiership clubs to agree to this 11-1 majority. Could it be that Celtic and Rangers and some of the other clubs have started to crank it up a wee bit to incentivise teams to get this back on the table again?
Yeah, I've said all along, I think the only problem is the second division clubs. I do believe that the first division, the championship and the first division are all for it, but they're not going to be the ones that's going to be affected by it. It's the Division 2 sides, and you have to get their chairman heads round what it's going to bring to their club. And you would hope that, they can see the positives of it. Obviously, they're going to get 20,000 a year, which will be a lot of money to them. There'll be supporters who come to the games when they kind of go and see Rangers. And even if it's 50 or 60 or 70 extra supporters, that's enough money for these clubs to keep them going. So I wouldn't, I can't understand why somebody would say, no, we don't want them, but I would like to hope that the voting, I think it's 75%, they need to get to allow it. I hope it happens because we need to regenerate the game after what we've been through for the last year. We've got to, and Kelty and Brora come into that equation as well. So we need to start the season next positive rather than everybody all fighting and arguing with each other.
Yeah, Tam, they're suggesting 12-12, 10-10. And then that will be increased to 4 leagues of 12 in this pyramid system. Now, that's fine and dandy, Tam, if they all agree to it and they still allow Brora and Kelty to get the playoff this season. But if they shut the door in their face again, I think it's scandalous.
Yeah, I think that's the most important issue. Let's get that rubber stamped first, Peter. It'd be criminal if Brora and Kelty missed out on the Pyramid playoff for the second year on the bounce through no fault of their own. So let's get that sorted. As for the Colt teams with Rangers and Celtic, I kind of am singing for the same hymn sheet as a fellow cynic who emailed me at the weekend and said that if the Celtic Rangers Colt teams do join senior football, how long will it be before the first ever player from League Two is getting a call up for Scotland? Because we all know that all that has to happen for that is at the minute they pull on the hoops are the old royal blue of Rangers. We saw it most memorably, you'll all agree with me with this one, Tosh McKinlay, an absolutely brilliant left back with Dundee, a brilliant left back with Hearts, not a sniff of an international cap until he went to Celtic, where you could even argue that because Celtic being the bigger club, his defensive qualities weren't even perhaps put to the test quite as much as they were with Dundee and Hearts. So, he should have got the call up then. Didn't happen until he moved to one of the big two in Glasgow. We've seen it all before, and I could see that happening with somebody at the Colts. I would bring it in, Peter, simply for the reason that Roughie's mentioning, because if you imagine the Colts suddenly appeared in League Two next season, then you're right, fans that have been starved of live football going to a game for more than a year now, then yeah, if their big team is out of reach, or if they haven't got a ticket for their big team, or if the big team's tickets are too expensive, etc., they might just make an effort to go along and see the young boys playing. So it could get the turnstiles clicking, but I'm a wee bit sceptical of the whole idea.
Darren, you got quite a few caps under Craig Brown at Scotland. Where were you playing when you got your first Scotland cap?
Hibs.
Yeah. How many caps did you get when you were at Hibs?
I think, I'm not very sure, Peter. I think it might have been 20. Well, I got 28, maybe about 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good going. Just thought I'd throw that your way just to always got to try and get a bit of balance on this. Tam's 100% right, though. There's more Tosh McKinleys than there are Darren Jacksons.
People always say that, Peter, that you move to the Old Firm, you've got a chance of getting a Scotland cap. But I do, Tam, I do see where you're coming from. But I think you can, if you're consistent enough and you're doing well, I think you would get in the Scotland squad.
Roughie, how many caps did you get for Scotland when you were at Partick Thistle, and then how many did you get when you were at Hibs, if that's possible? Did you recall?
I got 51 with Thistle and 2 with Hibs.
Yeah, so your form had really dipped then when you moved to Hibs. Okay. Right, okay. I mean, that is incredible. 51 caps while you're at Thistle. Brilliant. Stephen Welsh, who's the young Celtic centre-half, has just signed a new 4-year deal. So he's one of those guys that doesn't really have to worry about what's happening in the summer. He's got 4 years all done and dusted for him. So good luck to the boy. Well done to him. I'm just looking here. Here's the next dilemma, Darren. You're at Dundee United. Mark Orgren has asked fans not to push for season ticket refunds. The club's announced £3 million losses. It's a big ask again. This industry is crazy. It's the only industry I know where you buy something and then they say, by the way, you're getting nothing back for it and please don't ask for a refund.
Yeah, no, it's a hard one, Peter. It's a hard one for fans. He's obviously they're playing on their loyalty and where it's going to take the club if they ask for their money back. But you can understand fans because not only have they bought season books, and then, Tam, you're probably one of them. Not only have you bought season books, but you've paid to watch the TV channel for every game as well. And I mean, the fans have just been. They've gone beyond whatever you could ever ask a fan to do for their club this year. As I say, with season books and games and merchandise and all that, and it's just wonderful. But it's hard for a club when it does come to the part where you say we're maybe looking for a refund. Well, we don't really have the money. We've lost £3 million. We'll just go further into debt, more into debt if we have to give the fans a refund. So it's a catch-22, Peter, and I don't think anyone can win, really.
Tam, you're the ultimate fan. It's the type of thing that you would do.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I think a lot of Dundee United fans will do the same, Peter. By definition, by and large, if you've got a season ticket, it means that you're a diehard. And if you're a diehard, you want your club to thrive. You don't want it to suffer. And you don't want the finances to suffer. So I would be very surprised if a majority of Dundee United fans were demanding refunds. It's kind of your badge of honour, your season ticket, and that's why a lot of fans buy them year after year after year. From my own position, Peter, I've had a season ticket, Motherwell, since I was 10. And I've got one for this season, and that allowed me basically to get the email for the club that allowed me to tap in and watch the game on the iPad or whatever. Just purely with working at the BBC at the weekend, I don't think I've done that even once. I've watched the games when we finish our shows at the weekend. I'll then sit there and watch the Motherwell games. But no, I think even by law, I think fans who missed out on actually live action football in a stadium as they thought the season ticket would have entitled them to, I'm sure that if you looked at the small print, then yeah, they would all be due some sort of refund. But I think fans love their clubs. You could accuse them of maybe being treated like mugs or being a bit daft and being blind when there's perhaps even other things in their life that the money could be spent on. But fans have been blinkered like that for years, Peter, and I think it will be the same story at Dundee United. I think it will only be a very, very small number of fans who will go marching up to the stadium demanding a refund.
Yeah, one of the great things about lockdown, it's something that really has been a bonus for us, and it's given us that feeling that you know the show is live. If you are listening to the programme later on the podcast, you'll know that within the last 60 seconds when Tam was chatting there, that Roughie had a huge drink of his gin and fresh orange. You can always hear when people are walking, if they're walking in Strathclyde Park, they suddenly look behind them and think somebody's coming towards me and they're going to you belt me over the head, because I can hear your ice chinkling in the glass, Roughie, as you have a wee drink to clear your throat. It's fantastic. And then, of course, you always book the guy to come and fix either your photographs or drill something in your house between 4 and 5. And it's been brilliant. That's the one thing I'll take away from lockdown, Roughie, is your house.
That's why we need to get into a studio sooner rather than later. So we can all sit and enjoy ourselves, and nobody's phoning up telling us about what paintings are all squinty or whatever, what colours your wall if you not decided to tidy it up. So no, I think we need to get into a studio quick.
Oh,
but isn't
absolutely.
that amazing? That's over a year. That's over a year.
That's over
I've
a
been
year.
sitting in this chair. I've been sitting in this chair for a year. It's
You know what,
incredible.
Peter? I think the viewers always like it when we invite them into the wee party and don't have any secrets from them. I can tell you that as I look at it just now, it is 4:40 p.m. So I make it we've got 20 minutes still to go, and I can also tell the viewers, in case I disappear, I'm down to 3% battery on this iPad. So come on, get it moving, moving. If you've been to ask me now.
I'll tell you that. I'm waving to you. See you later. You've got no chance. Owen McGrandles, and before I choke here, says to us, wonder where he got the most caps. Kenny Dalglish, Roughie, did he get the most caps when he was at Celtic for Scotland, or did he get more caps when he was at Liverpool? There's a shout.
When did he leave? When did he leave Celtic? What year did he leave Celtic?
1977. I think I sobbed uncontrollably.
It'd be more with Liverpool.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Yeah.
It'd be more with Liverpool. Because he would only, 77, he would only been in the Scotland team for 74.
Yeah.
Did Kenny go to Germany?
Yes.
The World Cup?
Yep.
Well, 3 years in, he would have got 3. He would have had, roughly, at Celtic, he would have had 74.
Well, hold on a minute. Did he not replace Alec Cropley up at Pittodrie in a game for Scotland in 1971? So he would have 6 years.
That was the two of us introduced in that squad. That was our first call up. I never played, but I think Kenny played. So
yeah, he did. He came on for Alec Cropley.
I would say he'd probably have about 24 caps, 24 to 30 caps with Celtic. There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Go on, get her. Is she there yet? She know? She know?
No. The guy who's the director of the show, who's obviously in his home. This is the great thing about the way we've structured this show. Gordon is in his home in Ballock, and he's able to direct the show from there. And he says, tell Tam to plug his charger in. In fact, Cheryl said, tell Tam to plug his charger in when Gordon isn't on the four of you together. So you have to somehow plug your charger in, Tam, when nobody's looking. But I think that might be difficult, because I bet you've got your earphones in there.
Yes, again, I will not keep anything from the viewers. We're being very open today. The wee kind of charger pack thing that I've got, this wee thing here, Peter, can you see it? That goes in where the charger would go as well. So we're absolutely fine. No, it's been 3% for the last 20 minutes. We're cooking. No worries. I'll be here to the end. Don't you fret.
Absolutely. Craig Jack says, I bet you cried when Dalglish left Celtics. So, Craig, just a nice way of just leathering me there for this. Craig, calm down. I'm wearing a red, white and blue track top. What more do you want? Anyway.
Hey, Peter, it was a biggie for all fans of Scottish football, because I bet you right away, I'll say 1, 2, 3, Peter, and then we'll say it at the same time, because I think everybody knew it when you were a kid. In the count of 3, how much did Dalglish go to Liverpool for from Celtic? 1, 2, 3, 440,000. Yeah. No, you know, we're going back nearly 40 years, and yet that's just one of the daft things you always remember. It was so big at the time. He was such a great player. And wow, you could just watch. his games at Liverpool, you could just sit and watch them every single night of the week. Amazing.
Absolutely. Well, and if you can't, then don't forget, when we eventually get out of lockdown, why don't you come round to my house and I'll show you the complete collection of all his books and his DVDs. So, and well, hey, Tam, I'll tell you one thing. You'll need to come round once we get it back in the studio and all the staff are back together. You get a great chance to come round here and give Cheryl pelters. Cheryl's.
Yeah, I'll be picking up the paper. I'm picking up the papers tomorrow. Fire and Dale housing estate. House set ablaze. DVDs and books. Fire.
Just give out the street number while you're at it. Why don't you, Roughie?
No, exactly. I know. That's the other thing about it. I know. We're in lockdown. Anyway, apart from anything else, great for Cheryl, who's one of our journalists who works for the company. And she says, Tam, you've got 3% left and you're going to be here right up until 4 o'clock, hopefully. And she's obviously, if you drop out, Tam, then you're not going to be able to contribute to the show. And Cheryl said, that's a shame. I was looking forward to 14 more Motherwell stories. So she's giving you absolute dog's abuse, which is
it's actually going back up. It's at 5% now. Sounds strange.
Has she not told you how many caps Kenny got with Celtic yet? I'm intrigued now.
Well, listen, I mean, I'm sure some absolute boffin will know where he got the most of them. Robert Ben has said DVDs. Are you sure it's not VHS for you? Listen, it's Betamax. That's how far back we go. Did you buy Betamax, Tam, or did you get the VHS when it came out?
No, we didn't have a bean growing up, Peter, and our very first video recorder was a Betamax second-hand one that we got from Auntie Agnes in Burnbank, and it only had one tape with it. So if you want to ask me anything about the film The Man with Two Brains, starring Steve Martin and Kathleen Turner, I'm your man, because I watched that every night for about 2 years until we then got our second-hand VCR. But yes. So that was your first machine.
Yeah. Oh well, Roughie, you would have got something free with the World Cup squad, would you not? You ever paid for anything for the first?
I've got a horrendous Betamax or VHS. I'll tell quickly. Ian Monroe, who you will remember.
Yes.
Ian Monroe played for Scotland, and he marked Maradona at Hampden in Maradona's first thing, and both of us were at Hibs. And he said, the boys just sent me a VHS of me marking Maradona in that game. And I said, oh, you must give me a look at it. So I took it, he brought it into training. I took it home with me, left it in the player. When I was away, the kids were all playing about with the thing. I handed them it back, and it was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that had been taped to the top. He has never forgiven me.
That's your worst nightmare. Thank you to Andy Kilpatrick, who says he got 102 caps, 55 of them with Celtic. So there you have it. More with Celtic than he did with Liverpool. So there you are. Fantastic. I knew
Peter,
someone would be
congratulate that guy for sending thanks. I'll tell you, that is a killer diller pub quiz question. I don't think anybody, even at real learned football people, I don't think they'd get that right. I think they'd assumed it was Liverpool.
So, Peter, he got his first one in 71 and he left in 77. And he got 55 caps in that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It was usually about 7 a year back then. 6 or 7 internationals.
Yeah, because you have the home nations as well, and there would be qualifiers for World Cups and European Championships too. Listen, it's a great shout there. Thank you very much for doing that. I mean, I'm a complete boffin when it comes to Dalglish. I mean, absolutely. When you grow up and he's your hero, then I collect everything. But I wouldn't have been able to tell you he had 55 caps at Celtic. So thanks to Mr. Kilpatrick for that. Dunfermline against Dundee tonight. Darren, Dundee third, equal on 37 points with second place Wraith. We're now down to the nitty gritty. This is one of these teams absolutely determined to finish in second place to play fewer games going into this playoff.
Massive, Peter. I'm just jumping in the car and going to it right after this. it's obviously a 6 o'clock kickoff. So I'm going. I think I'm looking forward to it. I was there the other week with Dunfermline Hearts. It wasn't the best of games, but both of them need to go for it. And obviously Charlie will be hoping that Dundee can get a result tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Roughie, where's your money on that one? Dunfermline, Dundee.
Well, Dunfermline have fell off it a wee bit. Dundee aren't showing any consistency at all. But I think Dundee really need to win this one, so I'm going to go for Dundee.
I like
any penalties.
On an opinion, I would probably go for Dundee. Just I think Dunfermline have gone off it a little bit, and Cummings can always get you a goal, and obviously Charlie in the middle of the park can create anything.
Ah, right. So you're going to tell us your opinion on Dunfermline Dundee because you feel as if you won't get battered for that. But when we get to the Old Firm Cup final coming up, the old head-to-head in the fourth round,
I'll give you my opinion.
Go on then. Who's going to win it?
What one? I think
Celtic Rangers. Celtic Rangers this weekend.
You'll win it. I think Dundee will win it.
You're a banana, you.
Listen, now you
will it?
You know who I think will win it.
You're a bit late. You're only here on the Tuesday. Tam, where's your money going?
Tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Dundee will win that tonight. But Peter, the Blazers, the guys running Scottish football, they very, very rarely get a wee bit of praise. But round about this time of year, and I have done for several years, I always like giving them a wee nod because bear in mind that Hearts, they finally did crawl over the finishing line. They are the champions in that division. And, if the Blazers hadn't introduced the playoffs a number of years ago, all these games now would have been utterly, utterly meaningless. Whether it's at the top end or the bottom end, I think the playoffs are absolutely brilliant. And, and it gives that game tonight a wee bit of an edge. It is live on Council Telly, as they say, on the BBC Scotland channel. So, ordinarily it might not have been worth tuning into at this time of the year where the champions already have been announced, but everything to play for in that one. I think Dundee will win it 3-1.
Yeah, you deserve a medal this year, Tam, because if I don't know who's the head of BBC now, but you deserve a medal because you've kept us all informed of everything that's going on in that channel. I mean, you've been absolutely you've been magnificent on it. I mean, they've got to give you a bonus or an award or something.
Well, it's Mr. Carson. Some people would call him Steve, but certainly not me. Peter, I know my place, and he's doing a tremendous job.
Yes,
yeah. But anyway,
I'm hoping for the same 4-year deal as Stephen Welsh.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
I'm just hoping for. I would settle for the same deal as Tam McManus.
Absolutely. He's flying everywhere. It's been unbelievable. Roughie, what's your thoughts on people getting the jag? The countries getting the jag. I know UEFA want the nations to make sure they're all fully vaccinated. I think that's the right thing to do ahead of this tournament. Do you not? The players, the staff, everybody that's going to be involved?
Well, we're now eliminating most of the things that are not carriers, and travelling seems to be the number one now. So you've got all these players coming from all over Europe. It's a sensible thing to do, not just for them, but for everybody. So no, I think it's a good one. And the sooner they do it, the better. I hope they're not just going to be talking about it. And it would take a lot of, because there'll be a lot of players would be anxious of travelling without having the vaccination for obvious reasons. So no, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, fans are going to get back in now, Tam. I can start to see, the doors slowly but surely opening on this. The EFL said 8,000 fans will attend the Carabao Cup final. That's at Wembley. It's on April 20th. Man City, Spurs, they'll get 2,000 tickets. The good news is 4,000 tickets will go to NHS staff, which I think is a great gesture, Tam.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's maybe something that could have been done if the Scottish Cup final had been moved. As every man in their dug knows, Celtic and Rangers can't be in the final, so you're going to have Ibrox or Parkhead. That would be an absolutely superb venue for a final, and because of the size of both of those stadia, you could get a decent crowd inside safely. And if that so happened, before there's any dispute over who gets how many tickets, as much as the two finalists would be wanting to be represented there with their supporters, I think if you made a decision right here and right now, Peter, before MD knows who's in the final, said, you know what, we are going to let fans into the Scottish Cup final, but we're deciding here and now that it's going to be NHS staff or key workers. And if they happen to support one of the teams in the final, great, good for them. But that's what we're going to do. Use it as a test and let's go for it. I can't see any man in the street, any football supporter who would disagree with that.
Yeah, Alistair Andrews made a great point, which I was reading this morning, saying, Peter, Italy are not happy at prioritising footballers. I know they're not happy about it, but I think if UEFA put their foot down, I think it's a sensible thing for everyone to do, especially going into other countries. Anyway, apart from anything else, just before we go, a couple of things. I want to get your predictions for tonight's games. I know you mentioned, Darren's going to the game Dunfermline against Dundee, but I might have to tape that on my old VHS, Roughie, because I will definitely be watching Bayern Munich against Paris Saint-Germain. It's as simple as that. Can Bayern Munich turn it around and go through? Chelsea, Porto and Borussia Dortmund, Man City and Liverpool, Real Madrid is tomorrow night, but certainly tonight, PSG Bayern Munich is what I'm watching, because last week it was, for me, the best 90 minutes I have witnessed this season, bar none. It was absolutely fantastic. If anybody can come up with a better game than Bayern Munich against Paris Saint-Germain from last week, then I will be gobsmacked. It was two teams going at it hammer and tong. But before we get your predictions, lads, the great news is, apart from me at the start, Tam, mentioning that it was my sister's birthday and she's 60, there is someone other than Anne McClune who is 60, and it's Roughie's favourite player, would you believe, who's celebrating his birthday today. I'm not sure he's 60, but he's celebrating his birthday, is Carlos Puyol.
Former Barcelona captain Carlos Puyol is 43 today, so let's have a look back at his career. Born in Catalonia, Puyol came through the famed La Masia Academy at Barcelona with his best friend Xavi, and he broke into the first team in 1999 as a right-back. He was then moved into the centre of defence and became Barca captain in 2004, wearing the armband for a decade, and he became the leader of one of the greatest teams of all time, lifting 18 trophies at Camp Nou, including 6 La Ligas and 3 Champions Leagues. In total, he made 682 appearances for his boyhood team before retiring in 2014. But Puyol also had a 13-year international career, earning 100 caps for Spain and lifting both the 2010 World Cup and Euro 2008, and who can forget his thundering header to win the semi-final against Germany in South Africa. Where do you think Puyol ranks amongst the all-time greatest defenders?
Well, of the modern era, Roughie, I think he's up there, but you think he's a bomb scare. How can you be a bomb scare?
I'm saying he's a
European Championships, Champions League.
He's a world class player, but at times he's a bomb scare. He makes some ridiculous decisions. Not all the time, obviously, but I just him and David Luiz are my two top bomb scares. Because you never know what they're going to do, but they're quality players. There's no doubt about that. And I was going to say, is there any photographs of him during the lockdown with the barbers not been open? Because he must have looked horrendous.
I think he was almost certainly ZZ Top. You're absolutely right. I thought he was a fantastic player. Anyway, Tam, Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich. Give us your prediction.
Yeah, I think anything could happen in that game. Like you, Peter, told you last week, I did sit and watch that. It was absolutely gobsmacking stuff. The early goal helped. I think an early goal in any game always helps. But no, I wouldn't. If the bookies were open, only because I think the odds would be a bit more generous, I would maybe even have a wee couple of bob on Bayern Munich tonight, because they are two brilliant teams, and whatever one of them absolutely clicks on the night, the damage they can do. So I just hope, Peter, you know what, and you'll agree with me here, if it's even half as good a game as it was last week, then we're in for an absolute treat.
Yes, it's a belter of a game, Darren. I mean, I'm so delighted that you're off to Dunfermline, Dundee. We'll all be sitting here with the popcorn, just looking forward to it unfolding. You'll be at 68 minutes, Darren, waiting for your first corner or your first chance in the game. It's going to be great.
Peter, sorry, I forgot my boss will be watching us at the BBC. I won't be watching PSG against Bayern Munich tonight. I will be watching Dunfermline against Dundee on the BBC.
Yeah, sure you will.
Peter, it's a 6 o'clock kickoff, and I'm only 25 minutes, so I'll just miss a little bit of it. But you're right.
Yeah.
Listen, I thought Bayern Munich all along. Well, I hope Man City win it, but I thought Bayern Munich all along. But without Lewandowski, I think they're brilliant. But without him, he's the one that I think would have taken them to the final. I just think PSG. Everyone's been waiting for PSG to make an impact on the Champions League, and that's why they've got Mbappe, and that's why they've got Neymar. I think tonight could be their night.
Yeah, it's funny that I saw Lewandowski training in midweek there, Roughie. I have a sneaky feeling. I don't know. Maybe he could come on and shock everybody, but I think PSG are going to do it. I think your boys are going to sneak through, Roughie.
Yeah, well, Darren's right. He was on the telly just before we come on. He's out. He's not fit to play, so it's a massive miss for them, but a massive boost for PSG. I just think they've got too much quality up front, and Darren, I'm one of these people who have been hanging about for 4 years waiting on them winning it. So let's hope it's this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Better late than never. They've only spent
tonight.
No.
Yeah, they've only. Okay. Don't worry, Darren. They've only spent about 1.8 billion. Them in Man City. Anyway, I leave you with late news.
Roughie, see between that and Rummenigge, that's a beer bite.
Oh, absolutely it is. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. If I ever see him down the street in Sucky Hall Street about 2:30 in the morning, once lockdown's over, Tam, there's going to be a square. There's going to be a square goal. I'm telling you. Listen, I leave you with late news coming in. We always like to leave you with late news. Just a press release coming out from the BBC. Cowan signs 4-year deal, says Carson. So that's absolutely fantastic. It's all been worth promoting the bloody BBC every time on this programme. We've loved every minute of it. Tam, enjoy the footy tonight, son, whichever one you're watching. Thanks to Darren, thanks to Roughie, and more importantly, the people who've supported us right across all our social media. Thanks to you for watching today.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.